Hello friends, today we will analyze multidimensional poverty index. If you want to download this slide, then you can download it from the description box. And also if you want to see this video in Hindi, that is also available in our another channel, that is prepezee. This is prepezee English. So before we move forward, please understand two important terms. See, first term is basically incidence of poverty and the second term is intensity. First is incidence. That is incidence of poverty. It refers to the ratio of population which is poor to the total number of population. That is, out of the total population, how many people are poor? That is called the incidence of poverty. This is important with reference to MPI also, and also for other topics which you will be studying in social sciences or social aspects. Then you would be requiring this incidence. Apart from that, another important term is intensity of poverty. Intensity refers to how many indicators are there on which a particular person is considered as a poor. For example, we can say that a particular person can be poor in multiple dimensions. The person might not be having enough food. The person might not be having house, a proper pakka house to live in. The person might not be having proper education so that he can have a gainful employment. So these are the various dimensions, and on how many of these the person is poor. So now the context is multidimensional poverty index for the year 2023 has been released. An encouraging news in multidimensional poverty index of 2023 is that 25 countries including India have halved the number of poor in their respective countries. In fact, this shows that if sustained efforts are made, then the progress can be achieved in reducing poverty. Apart from India, these countries are Cambodia, China, Congo, Honduras, Indonesia, Morocco, Serbia, Vietnam, and such other countries. Now, before moving forward, let us first understand what actually is meant by multidimensional poverty index. This index is released by UNDP and OPHI. By UNDP we mean United Nations Development Programme, and by OPHI we refer to Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. This is basically an initiative under the University of Oxford. The data which is compiled in this index, it comes from different national surveys which are conducted by the respective governments. This index was initiated in 2010, that is 2010. In this index, there are different dimensions, different indicators. We will have a look at these indicators in just a minute. But out of these indicators, see, these indicators have different weights. And if 33% of this weight a person crosses it, then the person is considered as multidimensionally poor. So out of the 10 weighted indicators, if third part, that is 33% of weight is crossed, then the person is considered multidimensionally poor. Now let us have a look at the indicators. See, if we talk about MPI indicators, then there are three dimensions, that is three major aspects. Three categories or aspects, three groups you can say, and then in these groups there are different indicators. These three are health, education, and standard of living. Now, from this it is very clear that this index, it looks like Human Development Index. However, it has certain differences also. Now, if we come to the dimensions, health as a group is composed of two indicators. One is nutrition and the second is child mortality. Now, these two, they contribute equally to the health dimension. And as from this it is very clear that all of these dimensions, that is health, education and living standard, all three contribute equally to the multidimensional poverty index. Similarly, you can see that education is also having two index, but standard of living, it is having 6 indicators. These 6 indicators, they also contribute equally to living standards. But if you compare one of these indicators, for example cooking fuel, to nutrition, you can see that the weight of nutrition in the overall index is more than cooking fuel. Nutrition is contributing 1/6 of MPI, but cooking fuel is contributing only 1/18th. And that is why we can say that the weight of these indicators, that is nutrition, child mortality, years of schooling and school attendance, they are more than the other 6 indicators. Now let us understand these indicators in a bit of detail. So first we have the health dimension or health as a category. See, if we talk about health, health is the first thing which is there in health is nutrition. In nutrition, any person who is below 17 years of age and who is undernourished is considered as multidimensionally poor. That person is considered as multidimensionally deprived. That is undernourished person. Now, it is a good idea whenever you are writing any question on this, it is a good idea for you to write any SDG goal which is related to that indicator. For example, here if we talk about nutrition, then SDG 2, that is zero hunger, can be written in your answers. Similarly, the second indicator within health is child mortality. Child mortality refers to if a child under 18 has died in the household within the last 5 years when the survey has been conducted, then that household is also considered as deprived. If we talk about SDG, then this child mortality can be considered under SDG 3, that is health and well-being. Then we have education as a dimension, and in this we have 2 indicators. The first one is years of schooling. In years of schooling, we refer to that within that household, no member has completed 6 years of schooling. That is, for example, let's say a male member is there, then there is also a female head of the household, and then there are other members, for example, a grandparent is there. None of these persons, they have completed 6 years of schooling. This is called as years of schooling. If none of these have completed 6 years of schooling, then it is considered as deprived household. This can come under SDG 4, that is quality education. Then there is school attendance. School attendance means that any child up to class 8, by that what do we mean? See, an average student in India is in class 8 when he is or she is around 12-13 years of age. So up to 12 or 13 years of age, if any student is not attending school, then again that is also considered as deprivation, and again it can be counted in SDG 4. Now these are 2 indicators, health and education. Moving on to the third indicator, third dimension basically, that is the dimension of living standard or standard of living. Within this we have 6 indicators. The first one is cooking fuel. So basically, if any household is using solid fuel, then they are considered as deprived. What do we mean by solid fuel? For example, we are having dung cakes, which is used in the rural areas. Similarly, agricultural crop, coal, wood, all these things, if any household is using, then that is not considered a good practice. Instead, if the household is using LPG cylinders, then they are not considered deprived in this indicator. This can contribute to SDG 7, that is affordable and clean energy. Then there is sanitation. In sanitation, if the household has no sanitation or improved sanitation, that is toilet might be there, but if it is not improved, it is not properly sanitized. Or if we say that even though household is having a toilet, but then this toilet is shared between different households, then also the household is considered as deprived. That is 2 conditions. First, the household is not having a toilet, or if they are having a toilet, then it is shared between other households also. Then it is considered as a deprived household. This can also contribute to SDG 6, that is clean water and sanitation. Then there is drinking water. Drinking water means that if the lady or any person from that household needs to walk for at least 15 minutes in one side That is, for one side, the person has to walk 15 minutes and come back 15 minutes. That is, total 30 minutes of walking is required to get clean drinking water. Then again, it is considered as deprived. Obviously, these households, they do not have a source of water within their homes, and they need to walk more than 15 minutes one side. That is 30 minutes round trip. Then this is considered as a deprived household. Any household not having electricity is also considered as deprived. Of course, drinking water can be also considered in SDG 6, and electricity under SDG 7, that is affordable and clean energy. Then there is housing. If any household is having floor, roof or walls of kacha material, that is not proper, inadequate housing material, then that is also deprived. If all three of them, floors, roof and walls, all three are pakka, that is all three are properly finished, made, then that is not deprived. But if any one of these three is not pakka, then that is also considered as a deprived household. And that also, it comes under SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. If we talk about assets, any household not owning more than one of these assets, that is radio, TV, telephone, computer, cart, bicycle, motorbike, refrigerator, car or truck. That is, if household does not have more than one of these assets, then also it is considered as a deprived household. So basically this comes under SDG 1, that is no poverty. Now let us consider that what are the observations which have been made about India in the Multidimensional Poverty Index. See, first of all, as I just told, India is among 25 countries which have halved their poverty in last 15 years. For India, if we talk about, this period is between 2005-6 to 2019-21. That is, the data which was first collected was from 2005-6 in the first round, and the latest round is 2019-21. So in these 15 years, we see that there is a much of a change is visible in India. For example, in 2005 and 6, India had almost 645 million people who were multidimensionally poor. This translates to almost 64 crore people. We are more comfortable in crores and lakhs. That is why I am saying, if you are more comfortable in millions, please do whatever you want. You can listen to it and you can make notes about millions and billions. From 645 millions in 2019-21, we have decreased this poverty to 230 million or 23 crores. So you can see that there is a huge difference. Almost 41 crore people have come out of multidimensional poverty in these 15 years. So that is an outstanding achievement, and it would be better if you could remember these facts. That is 64 crores in 2005-6 and 23 crores in 2019-21. In fact, you can directly write that 41.5 crore people have come out of poverty in 15 years in India. Now again, as we see in this report, almost all indicators, India has shown improvements. So let's say, for example, if we talk about the most improvement areas in, let's say, nutrition. If we talk about nutrition, almost 44.3% were undernourished in 2005-6. This fell to 11.8% in 2019-21. So that is again a good achievement. Similarly, the child mortality, it also fell. It fell from 4.5% in 2005-6 to 1.5% in 2019-21. So this is actually a good improvement. Let us see some more sectors in which we can see an improvement. For example, if we talk about cooking fuel, we just saw it in standard of living. Here we see that in cooking fuel, there is an improvement of from 52.9%, the households which were using solid fuels. From 52.9%, the number has now fell to 13.9%. Now, if I ask you that how come this change happened, then you should be able to tell me how. Because if you say, see, government has made many efforts and there is a particular scheme which has improved this indicator. People have shifted to clean energy source, and it would be better, it would be awesome if you could write which scheme is that. For example, see, let me tell you, in this cooking fuel, the scheme is Ujjwala. Ujjwala scheme is there where you can see that due to the efforts of government, many of the poor people, they have shifted from using solid fuels to now LPG and other such clean fuels. Similarly, when we are talking about other sectors or other areas of improvement, you can write which schemes have been used. It would increase your retention. See, engagement, if you are engaging with the topic, if you are writing comments about the topic, your retention power will increase. You will remember more. Your memory will remain sharp till at least the day of exam, because you have written it and you have engaged with it, then you will remember. You have made effort for it. So therefore, it would be beneficial for you if you write comments and if you answer these questions. For example, next sector which has improved is sanitation. In sanitation, we see that the number has now declined from 50.4% in 2005-06 to 11.3%. And again, you can tell me which scheme should be there, which scheme should be written here. The next indicator which has shown improvement is drinking water. In drinking water, the people who were deprived were earlier in 2005-06, they were almost 16.4%. But now these number of households has now fell to just 2.7%. Again, the scheme which you can say, or the scheme which will further benefit in this, which will even decrease this 2.7%, is Jal Jeevan Mission. Then again, electricity. Earlier, the number of households which did not have electricity was 29%. This has also fell to just 2.1% because of Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar scheme, that is Saubhagya scheme. Similarly, housing deprivation. If we talk about housing, then 44.9% people had kacha houses, that is at least roof, floor or walls. One of these had kacha, that is not inadequate. They were having inadequate housing material. This has now fell to 13.6%. And see, this has not just happened randomly. This is not just some outcome because of natural advances. This has been made possible by sustained government efforts, despite the fact that India became the most populous nation in April this year. In fact, with a population of 142 crores, India surpassed China as the most popular nation in the world. So therefore, you can see that this momentous occasion, it does merit some credit to the government. We can say that the government is working. Now again, let's see what are the observations about other countries or the global observations. See, first thing is that this report, it says that out of 6.1 billion people which were surveyed in 110 countries, the data of 110 countries has been included in this report, and out of the 6.1 billion people total, 1.1 billion are multidimensionally poor. This translates to almost 18% of the people, if you can just see here. In fact, if we talk about most poor regions, this report categorically states that the sub-Sahara region in African continent and South Asian region in Asian continent are the most poor. Sub-Saharan region, it contributes 53 crore people or 534 million, if we are talking about millions, to the poor. South Asia contributes 38.9 crores. In fact, if we are talking about combined region, that is Africa, that is Sub-Sahara and South Asia, then we can say that out of all the population, every 5 people out of 6 multidimensionally poor are from this region, that is Sub-Saharan Africa or South Asia. So you can see that these regions are having more prevalence of multidimensional poverty. If we talk about the income level of respective countries, we see that middle income countries, they contribute more to the multidimensionally poor. In fact, 2/3 of all poor, that is almost 73 crores, they are from middle income countries. Therefore, there is a huge scope for intervention in these countries. Also, see, if we are talking about these 110 countries, we see that just 10% of the population living in these countries can be considered as living in low income countries. That is, out of total 6.1 billion, we can say almost 6 crore or 60 million people can be considered as multidimensionally poor. But from this 10% of the population which is living in low income countries, we see that almost 35% people, they are multidimensionally poor. Therefore, you can see that this is disproportionately high data, and you can see that there is scope for intervention and there is scope for further improvement. If we talk about vulnerable sections, then see, the most vulnerable section is children. In children category, that is below the age of 18 years, we see the prevalence rate of multidimensional poverty is 56.6 crore or 566 millions. The poverty rate among children is 27.7%. In adults, it is 13.4%. Now, there is a natural question to this. You might ask me that, sir, if children are not rich, that is they are multidimensionally poor, how come the adults, that is their parents, they are not considered as poor? If children are poor, then automatically the household is poor? No. Please remember here, when we are considering this index, that is multidimensional poverty index, we are talking about children, then we are talking about different indicators. For example, their nutrition levels. Are they undernourished? Similarly, their school education levels. Are their school attendance, they are going to schools or not? So a child who is undernourished, a child who is not going to school, that child would be considered as multidimensionally poor, despite the fact that the child might be actually not living in such kind of a household. So we are looking at the indicators here. So therefore, there is no need for confusion. Now, children, as you can see, 27.7% of the children, they are multidimensionally poor. In consideration, in reference, adults are 13.4%. Similarly, we see that apart from children, another section which is vulnerable is rural areas. In rural areas, we see that 84% of all poor, which we are considering in this multidimensional poverty index, they are living in the rural areas. But not all is lost. There are certain improvements also. For example, when we started, let us first look at the encouraging stories. When we started, I was telling you that 25 countries, they have halved their global MPI values. That is, they have halved the number of multidimensionally poor within 15 years. In fact, many of these countries have taken less than 15 years. That is between 4 to 12 years to halve this number, halve this multidimensionally poor number. For example, if we talk about Cambodia, Cambodia has decreased this multidimensional poor from 36.7% to 16.6%. And this has been achieved within a period of 7.5 years, because this data, 36.7% poor, it is from 2014. And this 16.6%, it is from 2021-22. So you can see that Cambodia has shown tremendous improvement. Similarly, improvement is visible in performances of Peru also, Nigeria also. Apart from this, one significant fact is that India and Congo, these are the countries which were having more than 50% incidence of poverty. Other countries, they were having less than 50%. So see, India and Congo, when we are doing this comparison, they were having 50%, more than 50% of their people were multidimensionally poor at one point. In fact, the report also says that we are now at the midpoint of Sustainable Development Goals agenda. That is, see, in 2015, we adopted the SDGs, that is Sustainable Development Goals. And the target year is 2030. So 2022-23 is actually mid time. That is, it is midline between these years. And from here, this index, it shows that yes, there is progress. So therefore, this is actually a good sign that we are seeing some progress. And we will hope that this progress, it keeps on happening. Now let us look at what are the challenges. See, first thing is first challenge is about the data itself. That is the index. It is saying that the data is not adequately available. In fact, to be exact, the index, it says, that is the UNDP and OPHI who are publishing this index, they say that post-COVID data is not available as of now. And this is natural also because see, the countries, they are still fighting due to the economic repercussions which happened due to the COVID. And therefore the post-COVID data is not available. But then again, the index makers, they also say that this is not a good situation. In fact, it is not very difficult to conduct these surveys. They say that it is very easy. We are just asking very simple questions, and in the digital age which is going as of now, it should not be that difficult to conduct such surveys and provide data. See, if we do not have data, then it is very difficult to undertake any policy decisions. It would be difficult to make such decisions or conduct any or initiate any welfare schemes, just like Ujjwala or Swachh Bharat, which we initiated and we came out of poverty. Half of our population came out of multidimensional poverty. How could we do that if we did not have enough data? So first problem is data. We must have real-time data and we should be tracking it continuously. We should be monitoring it so that on the basis of that we can compile an index, and on the basis of that we can actually have some kind of policy decisions and welfare schemes. Second challenge is education. The report says that out of all the indicators, one indicator which has suffered most due to COVID is education. Why? Because when the children, they have been kept out of schools for some time, they have lost their interest in studies, and it would be very difficult for all of these children to get enrolled once again. So many children who have left their schools, they might not even start their education back. They have lost precious years of schooling, they have lost their interest, and they have so many issues, and therefore there is a need to intensify efforts to bring back these children within the schools. If we are not working on education, then tomorrow it will be very difficult to bring these children back to mainstream. And third most important issue is children itself. See, the problem is, as we have seen, that we just saw that more than adults, children are vulnerable in this index. This index also says that almost half the countries which have been covered in the index, that is out of 110, almost half, almost 55 countries, there was either no improvement in the poverty of children, or if improvement was there, it was very slow. So this is also not a good situation. We are seeing that student attendance is falling, the children are undernourished, and therefore MPI is seeing that children have now become a vulnerable section when we are talking about multidimensional poverty. So these are the major challenges, and this is what is there to be learned about multidimensional poverty index. If there is any other issue which you want us to cover, please let us know. If you like this video, please like it, share and subscribe it. Thank you so much for watching the video.